This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 327, The Year Without a Santa Claus. Heat miser or snow miser?
Welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, the number one place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode.
Hey there, animation addicts. I'm Morgan Stradling.
And I'm Chelsea Robson. Morgan, have you ever heard of the movie A Year Without a Santa Claus? Outside of me.
Of course I've heard of it. It never was one of my staples growing up, and it was never one that I had actually seen until you requested it for our schedule.
What would happen if there were a year without a Santa Claus?
A lot of sadness and tears. Okay, yeah. And I got a bone to pick with this movie because it really the title does not match the plot at all. So we'll pause. We will definitely get to that because I feel like it's a misnomer, A Year Without a Santa Claus, because
false advertising.
He was there the whole time.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow. I'm Mr. Icicle. I'm Mr. Ten Below. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. I'm too much.
All right, so some basic info about this movie. Obviously, the movie is called The Year Without a Santa Claus. It's based on a book by Phyllis McGinley called The Year Without a Santa Claus. And then I believe there was another book that she did. The book is called How Mrs. Santa Claus Saved Christmas. So A Year Without a Santa Claus came out in 1957. How Mrs. Santa Claus Saved Christmas came out in 1963. And she actually has a Time cover. This was, we might say who, not be aware of this lady and what she did, but, Time memorialized her.
Time magazine was like, wow, okay.
Yes, I mean, time changes and flows, and the people who are important, drift into the annals of history. Annals of history?
I don't. Yeah, be careful.
I'll say it the right way. They drift away into history. But yes, okay. But the most important thing, it's written by William Keenan, directed by Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin Bass. And it was produced by a studio. You think Rankin Bass, and you think of the stop motion productions. And yes, their production studio, their company, like that was their signature look. But the majority of the animation was actually offshored to another studio in Japan called MOM Productions, and it changed its name later to Video Tokyo Productions. So all of these classic Rankin Bass films were actually animated in Japan. It's a made-for-TV special. You might notice because there are some pretty obvious commercial breaks, which I feel like are distracting now when you're watching it as a full-length thing. But the network it was on was ABC, and it was released December 10th, 1974. We're recording this on December 11th, so we just barely missed the 50th anniversary.
Wow. We saved it just for this year. The 50th anniversary of this movie, that's amazing.
That's incredible. And this was kind of on the tail end of the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. By this point, 1974, they're like, okay, this is what we're known for, and we're still getting TV gigs. But as far as the main ones that they are known for, obviously Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964, The Little Drummer Boy, Frosty the Snowman, and then Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Now, Frosty the Snowman was traditionally animated, but then it comes on to this one. They had a few others in between, but definitely those are kind of like the main big ones that you think of, specifically Rudolph and Frosty.
Yes. And I mean,
Santa Claus
is coming to town. Yeah. I think those are the top three that generally get the most airplay. And I think there's a part of it that's like on Amazon, you can watch not Year Without a Santa Claus. You can watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town for free on Prime. But not Year Without a Santa Claus, which I was bummed about. I was like,
I know.
Dang it. But they gotta, keep something behind bars, I guess.
So, Chelsea, why was this film that you wanted to do so badly?
I've been wanting to do this film for years. And it was just because, when we come to Christmas movies, like what are your standard Christmas movies growing up? And this was one of the VHSs that we had that was a standard every year for a majority of my young years. And then once Elf came out, then it was like there, and then you also had Home Alone, all those that came in. So you just had more options as I got older. But during my formidable years, I would say that this is one of the ones that I was just like, every year we watch this. And so coming back to it and watching it this time, I just have to pull full disclosure, I am wearing full nostalgia apparel with this, the goggles and everything. If I had a tiny little flag that said "Yay," I would do this. That's what I would be saying, because this movie, and when you're looking at it as just something from this time period, and I'm sure without nostalgia goggles, you're probably being like, yeah, that was fine. Okay. But
yeah, you sent me a text and you're like, wow, my nostalgia meter is through the roof. It barely been playing 30 seconds. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I started watching it and I obviously had no nostalgia. So we're seeing this from two different lenses.
Yes. Sure. So we'll have a more of a balanced view of this. So there you go.
So the first thing, this stars Mickey Rooney as Santa Claus.
Oh,
and then
he's so cute.
Shirley Booth This was her final acting credit before retiring from acting, and she's Mrs. Claus. It has Dick Shawn and George S. Irving. And you know what? I'm going to say it out front. Mickey Rooney as Santa Claus was really distracting for me because he doesn't have an old man voice, whereas Shirley Booth does. And so it feels like they're from two different eras, where one is this young, chipper kind of Santa Clausy character, and he's not the, like in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, this, yeah, your voice is kind of getting out, and this is how you talk. That's how I think of Santa Claus, not Mickey Rooney. So immediately from the beginning, I'm like, what's happening here?
And see, on my end, I'm like, it's Mickey Rooney. Yay. We have completely different viewpoints of this. Yeah, Shirley Booth, she does have a very like loving grandma kind of feel. And I don't know, as far as like Mickey Rooney, I don't know. I have full nostalgia goggles, so he was always Santa in this, so it doesn't strike me as odd.
So the film's called A Year Without a Santa Claus, and the plot is that he wakes up with a cold early in December, and then because it's such a bad cold, they decide, okay, we're just going to forego Christmas this year, which I feel like if you were Santa and you were truly dedicated to the Claus cause, if you will, he would never under any circumstance allow that to happen. And he does fight it. But eventually, Mrs. Claus, she has this song where she's like, I could be Santa Claus. And she imagines. And it's so funny because I told my kids, for some reason, my kids really wanted to watch this one, specifically the week leading up to us recording this, which I was like, perfect. But I printed off a list of all the family Christmas films, and they're checking them off and kind of watching them here and there. And I guess this one caught their eye by the name alone. And so they kept asking, can we watch it? Can we watch it? And it was getting late, in school nights. And so one of the nights I said, okay, well, let's just watch the trailer. And there is no trailer for this. This trailer is just a cut segment of the two elves finding out that Christmas is canceled, leading into the song, Mrs. Claus's song, and then it ends there. I was like,
that's not at all what the whole movie is, too.
Yes, I mean okay, that's something. And so leading into this, I'm like, okay, so this movie is about Mrs. Claus being Santa? Okay, but then later I watched it and saw that that's not really truly indicative of what this is about.
No, it was her little moment.
Yes, exactly. And she realizes, well, then they come in and they're like, Mrs. C? And it's like, dang it. So she realizes that's not going to work out. But very quickly, the two elves go off on this adventure, and then Santa traipses after them. And so Santa's around the whole entire time. This all resolves where he's sick, traveling around nonetheless, trying to get these elves. And then it works out that he's able to go and be Santa by the end. So to me, again, I'm just harping on this name. We needed a better name for this, because this was just like Jingle and Jangle's magical adventure, and Santa chases after them.
Yeah. I think it's also like the part where Santa is like, he's really distraught because there's no Christmas spirit left. Yeah. And why would I do this? Why do I keep doing this if nobody even cares? It's just like, that's like, I feel that. There's moments where in life where you're like, Santa, I get it. But what was funny is like, it goes out in all of the papers. Like, he's got a publicist that sends a picture of him in bed.
I know. Like, he's got the paparazzi getting him into the trades.
So, and like when they meet up with Iggy, and Iggy's just this little schoolboy that they run into, and he is just like, oh yeah, it's in all the papers. Like, Santa's taking it off, like, which is fine. I'm like, I don't even believe in Santa anyways. Like, what? How do you not believe if he's in all the papers? Like,
right.
Like, sorry guys, he's not coming this year. like that would, I don't get it. But it goes in, and so you have the two elves, Jingle and Jangle, and that is one of those moments of like the we never change bits of the comedic duos that they kind of try to throw into this, but then it ends up being them, the two elves, plus Vixen. Oh, she's just a baby. That's a very sweet part of the whole thing. It's like, I also as a child, I never like had a concept of like, meaning some of the reindeer are newer than others. Like, when did this happen? So like, I guess I just didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a funny little premise of them having to go and, you know, to prove that. But hold on, are they having to prove to the town that he exists?
No, they just want. Oh no! So at this point, these elves, Jingle and Jangle, they show up in small town USA, Southtown, and
the dog,
and they're like they think that somebody's going to recognize this little reindeer, and so they put their socks on his ears to make him look like a dog, and then they basically tie him up or something, and then it's like the dog catcher comes to a and like takes Vixen. So now they have to go in and get this reindeer, but they don't have money or they don't have any way to get that. And so they end up talking to Iggy, and Iggy's dad was like, well, you should just go straight to the top, son. Go right to the mayor. And I'm like, that is confident parenting right there. Like, we need to teach children that they can go straight to the top. Like, don't even bother with any of the bureaucracy. Just go straight to the mayor.
No, I loved it. I loved that this small town, they didn't have all the layers of red tape.
Yeah.
It was just intimate. Like, you can walk into the mayor's office and just let him know, and he's going to talk to you. He's going to hear you out.
It's true. And, you know, so they had this. So they go over there, and then Santa is like, oh my goodness, I have to find these little elves. And of course, Mrs. Claus is just like, meh. Like, she's just still in it, like, I don't know. She's just still up there in the she's
North
just still
Pole.
hanging out she's just still hanging out in the North Pole and just like, yeah, they'll be fine. And Santa's like, no, I gotta go get them. And so he flies down and he goes straight and he finds Vixen, gets her out of the pound, and then he flies away, and then I just see the guy in my head of the dog catcher is like, what? As he like starts flying off. But then Jingle and Jangle are now like, well, we need to figure out how to get back ourselves. And like, I don't know why did they need to make it snow? And
well, no,
in order to get
to get Vixen out.
Yeah.
They made a deal with the mayor.
Right.
He will let them out since they don't have papers, they don't have money, if he can make it snow in Southtown, USA.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the deal that they struck. And then they call Mrs. Claus.
Yes. So Santa's still hanging around, kind of looking for Vixen. He hasn't come yet, right? But Mrs. Claus comes down and collects the boys, or the two elves and the boys. And then so she's like, oh, well, we got to make it snow. Let's go over the snow miser. Enter the classic song that was really big on TikTok for a while.
I'm Mr. Snow. I love these songs, and they're great little ditties. It's just a voice and a chorus of each one, but they do it twice, and the second one is a little bit slower than the first. Mm-hmm. And because it's just a little like lava flow, because like, I'm Mr. Heat Master, I'm Mr. Sun, da, 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 da. But you have Snow Miser first, and it's a little bit more up. I love these two characters, the Snow Miser versus the Heat Miser, and the little dance routine that they do every time somebody comes to visit, because I don't know how many people actually come to visit them all that often. So obviously they've been waiting for this.
Well, hopefully.
Like, well, no, they've prepared a song and dance.
Hey, I mean, I think everybody should have a song and dance number just at your hip ready to go, because you never know when you're going to need to pull it out.
It's true.
Your own little theme song. You can never go wrong having your own theme song. And with phones, you always have a little speaker. You can just, play your little backgrounds track, but just make sure you have your song and dance number ready to go.
It's true. Yeah. Here's a question that I have for the audience. So the listener, I want to know, are you a heat miser or are you a snow miser? Because there are really only two types of people in the world, the hot and the cold. And like, I go up to my sister and her kids live up in Utah, and her family and everything. And so I'm talking to one of my nephews, and he's like, oh man, I can't wait till I get snowboarding. Oh, I can't wait to go out to do these things. Oh, I can't stand the hot. I love cold. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't relate to you on this level at all because I am very much a heat miser. Some like it hot, but I like it really hot.
Oh, same sister, same. I mean, the thought it's a little chilly right now, and I didn't properly wear a jacket or anything. I'm like, this is the worst. Except for I love it because we very rarely get cold. I just wish I would have had my jacket.
Yeah,
I like to be toasty and nice and warm in the cold.
If it drops below 70, I'm looking for my hoodie or some type of long sleeve jacket, and it may even be a snow coat. Just
Arizona problems.
Those are the only coats that I own.
It's so funny. We have these two brothers and they hate each other and they have this line of demarcation where it's snow and then the not snow. And they find out that Southtown is, oh, nope, sorry. That's in heat miser zone. Can't do it. Can't help out. And so then they say, fine, we're going to talk to your mother, Mother Nature. And they make it seem like, oh, she's a tough one. But like they go there and yeah, sure. And she makes a compromise pretty easily. So the whole snow miser snow miser and heat miser with Mother Nature, that was kind of a nothing burger for me because the conflict was a no conflict and it was resolved so easily. I almost thought like, what is the point of having them here? Obviously it's from the book.
Song.
I know, but maybe we should have had them wreak some havoc on Christmas or something before. Maybe like they got in a disagreement and they took over each other's territories. And so places where it normally snows was super hot and people were freaking out. People who were
what
unable.
happens at the North Pole if it gets hot up there? Like that is when you have all of the people coming and saying the ice caps are melting and the whole world is going to be.
Well, that was another thing where they're like, fine, the compromise is that we'll let it. You can make it snow there, but have to make it hot at the North Pole. And then there were no ramifications,
right,
for that. Like you think, oh no, if the North Pole becomes hot, like it's going to be the end of the world. I needed higher stakes for her to accepting that deal. Like it was just like, yeah, sure, and nothing happened. No one cared. No one noticed. It wasn't discussed again. I thought that was pretty weak.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for the time,
there should have been the ice caps melting and all the things that the people are so afraid of. I would have liked to have maybe actually seen that.
I mean, we could have definitely had wreaking. Morgan likes blood. Morgan always wants high stakes.
I just need high stakes. If blood's involved, fine.
Yeah, I think that it would have been, if this were to be remade today, this would have been like, I don't know, some kind of end of all eternities kind of thing happening.
Doomsday.
Yeah, it would be a doomsday movie and it would all be Santa's fault. Actually, technically, it'd be Mrs. Claus's fault. So we get to meet Miss, Mother Nature. And they built it up as though like, they're going to have some problems meeting her. But no, she was like, no, come on in. I do have a question. Yes. Do we think that her cottage should have been involved in the best cottages?
No, because we really limited to Disney Pixar.
Oh, that's true.
Just out of necessity.
Right.
And time to do all the research. So if you would like to add it to a miscellaneous list.
But let's say that it were Disney. Where would this cottage have fallen? I definitely don't think it would have been a top tier at all, but it was very nice. It had like its own little, it was in the clouds. It had its own little yard and everything. I liked that.
It has an outdoor dining table.
Yeah,
it's
outdoor
pretty.
Dining.
It appears to be some sort of mud building with a thatched roof.
Mm-hmm.
There's greenery all around, although not as much greenery as I would expect Mother Nature to have. I really wanted a little bit more of this, but I liked her design with the kind of teapot on top of her head, the green, or was that a teapot? I don't know if it was just some it looks like a teapot from this angle. Oh, it's a bird. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, they cut off the top of it. It's a bird with a nest. Yeah, because of who she is and the role she plays, I would have expected her to have a little bit cooler of a dwelling.
Yeah.
So
I think it would have gone right in line with, say, the witches and the wizards, where they like have something hidden away.
Yeah,
it's probably right around.
I'd have like
theirs.
a D tier for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. There you
probably
go.
would see.
Yeah,
you got the nostalgia bump.
You got the nostalgia bump for sure. So as far as the music goes, we had a couple different songs that we skipped over, but we had A Year Without a Santa Claus. It was the year without a Santa Claus. And you said Mrs. Claus and a children's choir called the Wee Winter Singers, which I thought was quite lovely. I would like to throw out a plug for next year. I am releasing a set of CDs called A Holly Jolly Christmas for Kids that was actually created by my uncle who passed away last year and gave me all the rights to it. And so I am putting it on Spotify. And the funny thing is when he passed away, before he passed away, he was telling me, he's like, I'm leaving you all of the rights to Holly Jolly Christmas so you can put it on Spotify and earn the 3 cents from streaming. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put it out for like a Christmas in July.
Nice.
Or maybe just wait till November 1st, because to me, Christmas season music it doesn't always start on November 1st, but this year it did. And I thought might as well. So, but I'll probably put it out for July, for Christmas in July. So
fun.
Keep your ears out for that one. And then, the Wee Little Singers. It's because it's a children's choir. And I bring that up because he got this children's choir together, and so they sing a whole bunch of different of the Christmas songs, and so that's what made me think about it. It's just this Wee Winter Singers. So this one is sung by the holiday children, is what he had it as. So that'll be fun. And then after that, they had Mrs. Claus's Anyone Can Be Santa. And that was cute. And then you had this one, it's Santa singing with Iggy and his parents, the I Believe in Santa Claus. And, I thought that one was very sweet. I didn't cry this time, but I do remember as a child crying at some point at one of the times watching this movie. And then the Snow Right Here in Dixie by the Mirror. That one also is a fun little ditty. And then you also had the Snow Miser, Heat Miser.
And then a shock. I was surprised to hear this one in there.
Yeah, they took one of those ones that people actually know is Blue Christmas, but they have the children's choir sing it. And it's a little slower and a little more serene, I guess. And it's a little montage of all of the children writing letters to Santa saying how much they appreciated him. And I was just like, that's so very sweet.
And it was cute.
It may be the
girl
reason
with the giant bow.
Oh, yes. It may be the reason why I love that song so much. It's one of those things that just throws it into my mind. And then we ended off with Santa. He reads all the cards. And he's like, what? Me take a year off? No way.
Again, false advertising.
Just him being able to okay, my whole problem at the beginning was that I felt like nobody appreciated what I did. And now I have some appreciation in me. And so you have Here Comes Santa Claus, the Wee Winter Singers singing that one. And that song is actually written by Gene Autry and Oakley Heldman. Hodelman. And the cute little story that I have that connects to that one is my parents were in they had a band during the first 13 years of their marriage, or they were traveling around the United States and Canada, and they had 3 kids at the time. And they're like, well, we should probably figure out something to do that is more stationary, because we're probably going to have more kids. And I'm youngest of 6 kids. So they did have more kids. But at that time, they were performing at Gene Autry's hotel and casino in Palm Springs, California. And Gene Autry happened to be there and talked to them. And he made the comment that you guys, my parents are in these, this is 1970s. So this is around, this is a couple years after this movie, because my sister was born in 73. And so they were a couple of years after that. But Gene Autry's like, you should do what I do. That's write country music. And all they heard was country music. And so, but it's if you look at him yes, write country music, just writing this one song, Here Comes Santa Claus. that set him up forever and all of his children. So yeah, that would be like, it's so easy for Gene to just say, just do what I do and write, here comes Santa Claus, and you're set. But so those are the couple stories that I have connected to this movie as well.
I love it. I do feel they needed to deliver on the promise of a year without a Santa Claus. We needed to see the chaos that would have happened in the world if Christmas came and went and there was no Santa Claus and therefore no presents. And it was, yeah, I mean, so many hearts broken. It's going to be terrible. Okay, I got it. It would be freaking out. It would not be a Merry, Merry Christmas. But we needed to see it so we could respect and understand and appreciate what we had. I think that would have been maybe he gets kidnapped by the snow miser or the heat miser or something. Something happened. It's not out of his own accord that he chooses, like, I'm sick, so I'm not going to do it this year. But then JK, I'm really going to do it. You know, I don't know. I know if I were to redo this movie, I think I'd have something a little more high stakes. But
you would have a doomsday scenario. The snow caps have melted, and now everyone is having to move around based on the continental drifts
caused by heat miser.
Yes, because he has, and snow miser.
It's a particular person. Yeah,
snow miser was like, well, you know,
I'll let it happen.
And then you have to have like Mother Nature come in and really save the day.
Right. So something needs to happen where Heat Miser is the bad guy because he's the bad guy in winter. No one wants a hot Christmas, right? So he needs to somehow kidnap his brother, hold him hostage so he's not allowed to do his job, you know, and so all the heat and melting of the ice caps ensues. And then something else happens with Santa where he also is kidnapped, maybe by the same guy. Why not? Once you're in for one, you're in for another, right?
I mean, then the two people are basically peas in a pod. So
yes, exactly. If you're gonna kidnap Snow Miser, you got to kidnap Santa while you're at it. Maybe Frosty if he's walking around. Okay, grab all these guys and then let hilarity and chaos ensue, and then we will all really appreciate Christmas for what it is. When Heat Miser gets put back in his cage, you know, there's gonna be a scene of him in the cage. Oh, I almost got away with it. Work for you, meddling kids.
Oh man. Well, here's the thing. Maybe this is actually how the second coming of Christ actually happens, because Christmas or Santa was actually, they thought of him as the Christ. So Christ comes at the end in his robes of red, and he comes from the north and all of these things. So they kind of put a lot of that emphasis toward what Christ or what Santa is as a representative of also Christ. And we forget about that as time has gone on, but maybe, you know, that's the whole thing. But that would put Snow Miser as part of the positive crowd as far as as opposed to the devil. And honestly, for me, it's the opposite, where Snow Miser is the actual hell froze over. It's just, for me, not a thing. I'm not okay with that. So I don't know.
Interesting. And I did notice, I can't remember which one it is, but the Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus puppets are used in another one of these Rankin Bass Christmas specials. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what it is. It's not the same one that was used in Rudolph, because his is more of a jollier, fatter Santa. And I think something happened with those puppets. I should have done all my research beforehand, but I think there was something that happened to those and they kind of got lost, and now they're in collectors' hands or something. But
I do remember seeing something like that where they're like, "Oh, this was now for sale." It was it was on Antique Roadshow.
Yes.
Let's see, Antique Roadshow. Yeah, so the Rudolph one was on Antiques Roadshow.
Interesting. Wow. How would you get your hands on that?
That's amazing. And especially the Rudolph one, because I think the Rudolph one is the most
iconic for sure.
It's in 1964 is when that was out. But
here is a blog spot post from 2012, just a few years ago, and it's titled Rankin Bass Historian says PBS Antiques Roadshow was very disappointing. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. This is unrelated to the movie you just read, but this is funny. I am so sorry I told Rankin Bass production fans to tune into Antiques Roadshow tonight because the piece that I saw created a false narrative to what the producers wanted you to believe. I did multiple interviews for this show over the past year, so they can't say we didn't know. Hold on, my computer's now trying to. They even asked me to clarify on a few occasions, which I did. In fact, they went out of their way to take out the facts I relayed to them out of this segment. At one point, I got an email from someone that worked there. Also, this is very difficult to read because it's in all bold font. That's like they're blending into each other. Asking to order my book, The Making of Santa Claus is Coming to Town and The Daydreamer, directly from me instead of my website, ? They never ended up ordering, ? In the segment, they called them production puppets and screen-used puppets, and they are neither. I explained in my Retro Fan magazine article in issue 17 out of October 13, 2021, and I explained to Antiques Roadshow the screen-used puppets, more correctly called animagic figures, stayed in Japan, and many remained in the collection of head animator Tad Mochinaga. You can see these photos in my book on Santa Claus is Coming to Town and our Frosty the Snowman 50th anniversary scrapbook. Man, this guy is truly the historian for Rankin Bass. Man, we need to have an interview with him. The animagic figure of Santa in the TV special had a smaller beard and lines in the beard that moved his mouth, which you can clearly see in my book photos. The publicity photo Santa is much bigger and rounder beard with no allowances for mouth movement. Okay, so he's kind of getting mad that they're claiming this is an actual puppet used, and he clarified, no, this must be one that they use for publicity. The animagic figures that appeared on Antiques Roadshow were so badly appraised right from the start. They were publicity-only figures. They were used for the publicity photos in New York and then were put on display at NBC-TV at the Rockefeller Plaza for a short number of years. While the host talked about his personal connection to the animagic figures, I heard from the seller before Antiques Roadshow. I then appeared with the figures after my friend Kevin Crease bought them at many conventions. Or brought them to many, he bought them at conventions on television, 2006, 2009. I helped coordinate the restoral with my friends Mark Caballero and Seamus and Robin Walsh at Screen Novelties prior. Kevin sold them to a friend of mine. I worked at the catalog in the 2020 auction. Oh, I'm almost done. Through Profiles in History, I also worked on the exhibit for the Center of Puppetry Arts for this holiday season. This is the 20th anniversary of my book, The Making of Rankin Bass Holiday Classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It was really disappointing to see this sort of fluff piece after giving PBS, Antiques Roadshow, and Detours so much of my time and the history of the figures. I would never do an interview for them again. And again, I am so sorry I promoted it originally. Rick, sorry about your experience. Yikes. Man, sorry about that, my friend.
Antiques Roadshow is fake news.
Well, clearly they were excited because they thought they had
the real ones,
and the real ones, and that's
definitely more clickbaity
for sure. But it's still cool to say that, hey, we didn't have the real ones; these were publicity. That happens all the time on Antiques Roadshow. They're like, actually, this is a reproduction, but it's still worth a lot of money.
Right.
Here's the link. So. I love a good Google search when it takes you down a weird blogspot rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
Rick Goldschmidt. He has links to his book. Oh man, presentation and book signing, December 19th at 7 p.m. The Plains Library. Oh man, this guy, he's a good guy. Give him some credit, guys. He was just trying to help out and just spread the word about his love for Rankin Bass, and he got thwarted by those darn crooks at PBS and Antiques Roadshow.
Ah man,
defund them.
Yes. And they took his time. His time he'll never get back.
He is right, though. Once you know, like, hey, wait, this one doesn't have any movement in the mouth at all. There's no articulation where normally his mouth would go up and down. You're like, I see. Mm-hmm. You're totally right, my friend. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's for a different episode. That's our Rudolph episode, which we did long ago, but how hilarious, how funny. Man, I'm gonna have to dig into this guy's thing. He has quite the. Does he have anything about Santa Claus coming to town? Let's see. He has he purchased soundtrack for it. He has a lot of links to stuff he has done. Wow, this sidebar of his goes on forever. You need to have a proper menu, buddy, where I can click and go through your old articles. I'm trying to see if he has something relating to let's see. Oh, he has wow. He did more stories. Heat Miser. He has a Heat Miser mask. He has a Snow Miser mask. I'm trying to see if I click on Heat Miser, does it bring me to maybe? It's just today's the 50th anniversary. Well, he must have posted this yesterday. Yeah, he did. He's still active.
Call him.
This is hilarious.
Get him.
Man, we should have had him be our co-host for this. He would have really added a whole bunch to this. He has this 50th anniversary scrapbook, and yeah, interesting. Well, good times, my friend. Go check out his blog, folks, if you're into this. And clearly there's so much here that I'm not even digging into. So good times. Great
Good
oldies.
times.
Cool 94.5 with the Snow Miser as your guest DJ tonight.
All right, everybody. Once again, because of my very thick nostalgia goggles, I give this 4 stars. I think that it is a perfect length for this kind of for the story that it is. It's like 51 minutes long. It's got some fun songs that are very memorable to me. Good, cute characters. Honestly, the soundtrack really just sells it for me. I would say probably nostalgia level at 11 once again. So 4 stars for me.
4 stars. Okay, as someone who has no association with this, didn't grow up with this, I'm sure if I did, I would have loved it. I really like the artistry. We didn't talk about the puppets. There is just so much fun with the Rankin Bass and this old school puppetry, stop motion animation. I need to include in the show notes. There is a TikTok that I found on X of a guy who's recreating like the stop motion style in live action. He's singing one of the songs from these Rankin Bass songs. And it's just so hilarious because the way he's able to move his mouth so it almost forms like a triangle shape, and he just moves it up, down, up, down. And I just got such a kick out of it. I watched it way too many times. So if that definitely brought on the nostalgia just of how they were able to animate these characters. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I really like the artistry. I like the style. There's just a lot of loose ends that are just like, for the plot's sake, why not? We're going to have these 2 guys here and they're going to sing a little ditty. And I like the numbers. I like the songs. I think they do a really good job, but I'm just going to have to give it 3 stars because it doesn't quite, as an adult watching it for the first time, didn't quite do it for me. But hey, I love, and plus False Promises. I really wanted to see a little bit, no Santa Claus.
I want blood.
So 3 stars.
Awesome. Let us know what you think in the comments. You can also send us a voicemail. You can go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails. You can give us a call at 406-646-6575. Leave us a voice memo there. I mean, even if you just want to do a voice memo on your phone and then email it to us, you can email it to contact@rotoscopers.com. We would like to do a bit of a mailbag session at the beginning of 2025. So can't wait to hear from you. And any comments, you can let us know on X. Are you a heat miser or a snow miser?
Yes. Merry Christmas Eve and Merry Christmas, everybody. The day this comes out, it's going to be the day that this comes out, it is Christmas Eve. Santa is going to be making his magical trip around the world. This will be a year with Santa Claus.
Fortunately, there will be no year without a Santa Claus.
Thank goodness, because we need a good Christmas this year. So have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. One of our next episodes, we're actually going to be doing 8 Crazy Nights. That's going to be our New Year's Eve episode because Hanukkah this year is much later. It starts on Christmas on the 25th. And we'll continue through that. So thought it'd be fun to end the year with 8 Crazy Nights. As we're going into this, if you have movies that you would like us to review in the new year, let us know, because this is a movie that never I would have been interested in. Not that I never was interested, it's just like the animation kind of felt rotoscope to me and never was interested in it. Adam Sandler, I like Adam Sandler, but I don't know. I just never felt drawn to this movie. But now I'm like, I really want to see this one. And you know what another movie is that I really want to see that I never would have wanted to see is South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. Because I saw some discourse online saying it should have won for the best soundtrack, or it did, or something crazy.
Oh, yes, because that was Robert Lopez.
They did that one?
Mm-hmm. Not they, he.
He did South Park?
Yeah. And that's that's how they became friends. And he was actually very upset because on that, later on in the in the actual show, they did a whole an episode on Mormonism, and so he was like, "Oh, you did it without me. We had this idea to do it together." And then they're like, "No, no, no, we still want to do it, but we want to like go all out." And that's how they decided to do
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the Book of Mormon musical.
So, Chelsea, I'm putting my feelers out there to see if
Okay.
you're interested in doing that one in 2025. So, this is a movie literally I've never going to see it, don't care. I have seen South Park before.
Right.
As far as the South Park movie, I just never wanted to do it, and now I'm like, it is time.
I've seen clips of it. I wouldn't mind seeing it, sure.
Okay, so maybe we'll jot that in for January or whenever it deems worthy.
Whenever we figure out when we're going to do these.
Sorry about this.
We do have a lot of cool plans coming up for the next year. As just I'm moving, and so there's a lot of like things that are happening over the next couple of weeks for me, and we're hoping that in February we will. Should I say this or
lock it in?
All right, Morgan, we're doing this. We're going all out.
You mean I have to clean up my office?
We are going to start doing live streams once again in February, and we're wanting to be able to get the gang back together as far as the patrons and any memberships that are getting like happening. So we want to make sure that all of that is set before over the January. But that is our resolution for 2025.
It's a good one because it's been one that we've had at least I have for a long time, but I never have the drive or the motivation
deadline
beyond all the other things in my life to make it happen. But
and
we're going to make it
it's
happen.
just going to take one day of like just getting everything set up. It just takes that day of like, okay, this is what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it. We are making a pact to try to get this done.
It's going to be really fun. So ideally what we're going to be doing is we're going to be live streaming. The show will be available for the patrons. I think, I don't know, might change, but then we definitely want to do a live stream each week where we're talking news and other stories and have that available. And patrons have access to that, and channel members on the YouTube channel will have access to that for eternity, or as long as it's available and hosted. Maybe YouTube shuts down at one point. I should not say eternity, but you'll have access to that. And then after a few days, that'll go into the vault. And then we will just split those news article clips up into little YouTube videos, and you can watch those on the channel. So we'll have panelists and other people, and I think it's going to be really fun. Something I wanted to do for a long time.
There's no thing
for years.
This is going to be fun. Dang it.
Yeah. So live streams. I mean, I think I'm scarred from live streaming because back in the day we did live streams and the technology just wasn't quite there. Now it's so easy. We really have no excuse. However, the scars, the trauma, to use the very overused term, is still kind of there.
But it's true.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We will see you in our next few episodes. Be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned. Stay safe. And until next time, we are the Rotoscopers.
So today I am packing up my room, and so I've got that happening tonight.
And you have a fire alarm beeping, I can hear.
It's not I think that's the CO2 thing, and it might be the battery dead, because it like every once in a while is like, hey.
Yeah. Well, I can hear it.
Dang it.
Which means podcasters will probably be able to hear it.
Yeah. Okay.
I only say that because the joke online is that's a sign of low IQ people. Not that you are, but like people, like particularly the Somali Minnesota community, they don't realize that you're supposed to change it. Or if they do, they don't think it's their job. They think it's their landlord's job. And so like in their videos, they'll just have it beeping all the time. And the joke is like, that's how you know someone's low IQ when they just allow this to happen in their life.
Dang it.
So I don't want that to rub onto you. I just heard it again.
Yeah. Dang it. Yeah, it's it has been something that I'm meaning to get to it, but
you're leaving. So
yeah, I mean, I have batteries. I can just shove one in there, but it's like, that's it. It's so high up, and I have to go get a chair, and one of those things. Okay. It was the year. Dang it.
That's a little more than just every once in a while. That seems to be every 2 minutes.
All right, one moment.
Or just take the battery out. I don't know.
Just figure out what to do. Hold on. How are you beeping without a battery? All right, it said, spin this way to turn it off. I'm like, all right, I'll fix you later.
Oh, nice. Easy.
Yeah. I changed the battery, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't continue to beep. So I'm no longer a low IQ person.
I never believed that you were. I just was looking out for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag AnimationAddicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.